everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from gorgeous Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, we needed to talk to a voice of reason. So we brought Andrew Seidel on of the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
He's a super smarty pants is what he is.
Had a lovely conversation. So
Yeah.
so that's wonderful. That's coming up on the second half.
Yeah, not to be missed. That
of
one's
the
a good
show. And then before we get to that, of course, we talk a lot about the news. And Dan, I guess we should probably set some context here for like where we're at in this moment. We are recording on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of our
Do you guys
normal...
remember Thursday? To you, it will feel like it was 6 months ago.
Oh, golly. Yeah.
But currently, we cannot talk about who won the presidential election here in these United States because...
And I really hope that by Saturday, this is just resolved. It may not be.
It may not
Probably
be.
won't be.
This could be a months-long thing. It just kind of depends on how things shake out in a few of the states here.
Yeah. But hopefully we have a good sense of it. So if anything seems sort of like we don't know yet, it's because we don't know.
Yeah, if we're missing anything from the show, just shut up. You know things we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
There's a time problem here.
But one thing that we do know, Dan, and it honestly, truly was, I mean, there was this whole like presidential election thing.
Yes, I remember it happened.
That was happening this week. But the thing that I was really tuning into to election coverage for was to find out what happened in Mississippi with regards to their flag. This was we talked about this quite a lot on the show as during I guess it was really in the wake of George Floyd, his murder by the hands of the police. It caused a discussion in Mississippi because of all the protests that were happening and the discussion around race that we've been having.
It turns out racism is kind of bad.
Yeah. And so
somebody told Mississippi about it.
The good folk down in Mississippi decided that it was time to maybe address the fact that their state flag was, the Confederate battle flag. The stars
was adorned with a hate symbol? Yeah.
Yes. And so they moved fairly quickly to remove the flag from state buildings. I guess maybe not as quickly as they could have or should have. Actually, they should have done this a long time ago. So there's that. But then they got it onto the ballot this year to approve a new design for the state flag. And they went through a little bit of a process. They actually had thousands of entries from they held a statewide contest to redesign the flag.
Only two rules, as I recall.
Yeah, it had to have the phrase "In God We Trust" on it. And I actually, what was the other rule? I don't remember the other rule.
No Confederate flags.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Confederate flag had to go away.
Yeah, you got to not have the Confederate flag, and you have to say Jesus on it.
Yeah, which is really disappointing. But they went through a 9-person commission to kind of narrow down the choices. They picked a flag that features the state flower, and it actually is not horrible. It's actually not a bad-looking flag that they settled on. I would omit, obviously, the "In God We Trust." That is problematic. Right. And then there's like a ring of stars. So it's a ring of stars and the phrase "In God We Trust" that's around this magnolia that's in the center of the flag. And to be honest, I would just omit that entire circle thing and just make the magnolia just slightly bigger. And I think they would have landed on a gorgeous design, or at least a very nice design. And But
vexillologically, it's not bad.
It's not bad. Yeah.
It could be worse.
It could be way worse. Salt Lake City just adopted a flag that I'm not a super big fan of.
Yeah.
But it follows all the vexillological rules. And but anyway, yeah, so and it passed by a pretty good margin, this whole thing, which I don't know if the thing was adopt a new flag or go back to the old one. I don't know that it was I don't know what would have happened if this thing had failed. But nonetheless, it was a lot. The large majority of the state approved it, and I think that's a really good sign for Mississippi. They were the last state to have the Confederates flag as part of their flag. Georgia got rid of their problematic flag in 2001. And so, yeah, it had been quite a while, Mississippi, but you got on the good side of this in one way, and then you fucked it up in another. So,
yeah, well, that's a fight for another time, I guess. We'll work on that one.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm so happy that the stars and bars are gone from their flag. That there's this there. I'm annoyed by the "In God We Trust," but it feels like, in God, it's like on our money, and it's like we just need to solve the problem across the board in this country with that phrase. And so it offends me far less than that fucking racist flag offended me.
This is such a huge improvement. Like so much better.
Yeah.
So I'm down with it. I'm not going to be mad about it.
I'm slightly mad about it, but
I mean, nobody's driving past it and thinking about their relatives being lynched or whatever. So as far as I'm concerned,
that's an improvement.
Vast improvement.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit about. We'll talk later in the show with Andrew Seidel about the Supreme Court, our current Supreme Court, which now that Amy Coney Barrett is a member of, is basically a theological nightmare.
Yeah.
It's majority Catholic and majority people who think that they should put their faith above the law.
Yeah.
Which is ugly. And one of the first things that we've gotten to see this court look at is a case called Fulton versus Philadelphia. Fulton versus Philadelphia. And this is a case which basically is going to go badly. The crux of the case is that a group called Catholic Social Services, which does adoptions, basically didn't want to give children to gay couples.
Right.
They are ugly like that. And so the city of Philadelphia said, we're going to stop funding you then because we don't like when you're discriminatory.
Right.
And they said, but we do like when we're discriminatory, and now you're discriminating against us for discriminating. And that's what's going to hit. That's what hit the court this week. We won't have a ruling for a little minute, but it's not going to be good. As Andrew Seidel told us off the air, there's Amy Coney Barrett managed to bring up abortion in a case about adoption.
Jesus.
How the fuck did she do that? I'm pretty sure that
she's really good. Right.
Yeah.
That's how she did it.
I'm pretty sure that the only way she can orgasm at this point is to say the word adoption or abortion rather when right at the moment. She's gunning for it is what we're saying. Anyway, so
God damn.
that's a fun little thing. We will watch it play out, but fully expect that with 66% of our justices being conservative Catholics, it's not going to be good.
So you're saying I should go adopt right now?
I'm saying, yeah, they're. I mean,
actually, I should just stop being gay right now. I think that's the.
You know what we haven't done, by the way?
What's that?
I'm going to interrupt. I'm interrupting our news section of the TGIA.
This is highly
podcast.
irregular, Dan.
I am.
You're
is
breaking
irregular.
the rules. You're breaking.
I am
the
breaking
rules.
all the rules because we need to talk about something, which is that before this crazy Supreme Court overturns Obergefell and takes away the rights of gay people to marry each other, what have you done, Franklin?
I got married.
You went out and got married. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah, Dave
I mean,
and
it's not amazing. People do it every day. It's not hard.
No, it was shockingly not hard. Like, super easy. But we made it a lot easier for ourselves by driving over to Colorado, which has the easiest way or process to get married.
Yeah.
So
if you are looking for an elopement, look no further, my friends.
Totally. No.
Yeah.
It was super duper easy. You don't need witnesses. You don't have to have an officiant. You just sign and you're done. So yeah, it was great. We had a nice little weekend.
I love it.
And we got married.
So so if they do overturn Obergefell, they'll have to deal with your marriage now.
Yeah, and they would have a lot of other ones to deal with and figure out how they're going to handle that, but or how they would handle that. Hopefully, it never comes to that. They'll have to deal with me now. So.
Yeah, well, and if you want to adopt, don't go to a Catholic agency. As a matter of fact, hey, everybody, if you want to adopt, don't go to a Catholic agency.
Yeah, it's probably best.
Because fuck them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can avoid it.
I mean, they do have the best babies, but...
Shut up. The best babies.
The selection is
Babies.
remarkable. Really.
Yeah.
Like,
have you taken your shopping cart down the aisles? Because it's just...
no, it's COVID. I ordered the catalog.
Sure.
It's just, wow, they've got all of them. They've got every type.
Basically everything you can imagine.
Oh my God, I was about to make.
Every flavor. All right.
Oh, golly, Dan. Well,
congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats on your marriage.
Thanks,
Dan. That's,
I have a story here, Dan, about what's kind of a little bit of a staycation type idea. There's this trend right now that's happening. I had not heard of this, but they're called flights to nowhere. Have you heard of this?
No.
Flights to nowhere. It's they're being offered all over the place as a means to give the local airline industry a little bit of business. And you take off from your local airport and you land at your local airport. You get all the excitement of international travel without actually going anywhere.
Wow. It's jet setting without any greater purpose than that.
Yeah. In Australia, there was a 7-hour flight that was offered over some of the country's most iconic landmarks. It sold out in 10 minutes, Dan.
What?
In Hong Kong, there was a 75-minute flight that they were offering that circles the travelers around their home city, right? So that you can snap shots of Hong Kong. Right there. You're just on a plane. Get all these good pictures of Hong Kong. It's awesome.
Hopefully the in-flight drink service is up and running.
That would be. It better be, right?
It's basically a party bus in the sky.
Yeah. Singapore's tourism board has announced a couple cruises to nowhere that'll make 0 ports of call and will operate at half capacity because it's COVID. You still want to take a cruise. You still want to get on a disease-ridden boat.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever gotten sick on a cruise before.
It's going to be one of those moments where they're like, there were no instances of COVID. We all have dysentery, though. So there's a good news, bad news thing happening.
Well, Thai Airways has announced their flight to nowhere that they are calling the Thai Magical Flying Experience.
Okay. Do they sing songs from Aladdin to you while you're doing it?
They're going to fly over some of Thailand's holiest Buddhist religious sites, and passengers will be reciting mantras all along the way.
Oh my God.
They have employed the services of Dr. Chada Ching Buchan, who's a celebrity fortune teller, and
wow.
And he's going to be leading the in-flight chanting, and
and you thought sitting next to a toddler sucked.
It's going to be a 3-hour flight. They're going to cover 99 sacred sites. They list off a handful of them, and I'm just like, I don't know what any of those are. I mean, maybe some of our listeners would. There's some UNESCO sort of World Heritage sites on the list. You've seen pictures of Thailand, or you've been there. You've probably, seen a picture of some of these things.
It doesn't feel like 35,000 feet is like the optimal viewing distance.
No. They are, what do they call it when you buzz the airfield or whatever?
No, they're flying below the flight deck, huh?
They're flying low on this ship.
Okay. Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are flying high, and the whole point is the point clearly with this one is not so much seeing it up close and from the Hong Kong flight. It's clear that they're using approach patterns and whatnot, probably to get in close to the city, and to see the skyline and everything. With this, I think the point is to be over these sites while chanting.
Because that's how the magic happens.
Because it's the magical flying experience. They literally
they're calling it magic.
It's so
my gosh.
insane. I mean, I guess it's something to do.
Sure.
If you're into such things.
Just trap yourself in a tube with a bunch of other possibly infected people. I don't know. I will say this. I once took a sightseeing plane ride over Canyonlands National Park here in Utah.
Yeah.
It's the best way to see that park, for sure.
Yeah, but you weren't in a 747, right?
No, that's true.
Or some giant Airbus 3s, whatever,
No. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a much better tourism flight. That's designed for that purpose.
Yeah. Definitely was not okay. Well, have fun, everybody. Go fly to your own house. This is a less fun story. I'm going to take us to Michigan, in the Grand Rapids area, where unfortunately, election day was. I mean, look, I don't know about everybody else. I was expecting atrocities on this election day and throughout this election season, and I haven't been disappointed. They've been out there. People been getting all shook up. I'm really glad actually that the election results are being drawn out, because if they had been announced night of, there would have been riots, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But a long, drawn-out process, it's harder to get real riled up about. But apparently, in anticipation of election night, some assholes decided that they would go to the Ahavas Israel Cemetery.
Oh, God.
I only had to take 3 runs at it. In order to vandalize headstones with the word Trump and MAGA in red spray paint.
Wow.
So
Wow,
if there was
that's a good
if there
look.
was any
That's
wonder,
a great look for them.
Yeah, exactly. I considered trying to trick you and say that the story was about some leftists writing, spray painting Biden on somebody's gravesite, but I didn't think, it's just to see if you'd believe it. But it doesn't sound anywhere near as believable as Trump being spray painted on religious headstones.
Yeah.
Which says something.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say what it says, but it says something.
Why don't you say what it says?
Oh, that Trump supporters are bigoted assholes?
There you go.
It does. It definitely says that.
Or at least aligned with bigoted assholes?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You may not be or think of yourself, if you're a Trump supporter, as a bigot or as a as a horrible, racist, awful person. But guess what side you chose? That's the one.
Yep.
Anyway, so once again they decided to prove to the world who they are, and that's a surprise to almost zero people. But it's still wildly disappointing.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I don't know if this will lift everybody's spirits or not.
Okay.
But last week we had a guest on the show, Andrew Gold, and we spoke about exorcisms, right?
Sure.
And one of the things that I believe I remember coming up in the conversation was the fact that exorcisms are on the rise, right? That this is a new hot trend, right?
Oh, you gotta love it.
That is just sweeping the world, really.
It's gonna save the world. Getting out those demons.
I actually came across a story about a couple exorcisms that happened very recently here in this country, Dan. The first one that's mentioned in the article took place in Portland, Oregon, where Archbishop Alexander Sample led a procession of more than 200 people to a city park. This was just a few weeks ago, to conduct an exorcism ceremony in Latin, with the purpose of purging their community of evil.
Okay. So it wasn't just a person; they were exorcising the entire damn city.
Oh yeah, because there've been the
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, the protests for racial justice that were, mostly peaceful, but there was a little bit of violence and riots and whatnot, and he just,
because when you say, "Hey, police, why don't you stop being brutal?"
Yeah,
they like to get brutal about
exactly. And that's and thank you for making sure that's where the real problem was, right? But this archbishop, he had to clear out the icky, get rid of the bad vibes that were going
Did
around.
It work?
I don't know.
Must have worked. I haven't heard about violence in Portland for a minute.
Well, yeah, okay, well maybe it did. And coincidentally, on the very same day, San Francisco Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone performed an exorcism outside of a Catholic church in San Rafael, where protesters had toppled a statue of Father Junipero Serra, or Junipero Serra, who I had to look up. I didn't know who he was. Apparently he was an 18th century Spanish missionary who, of course, the Catholics love because he converted a lot of people, but those people were Native Americans, and they were probably forced to do so.
Yeah, and by converted, I'm pretty sure you mean enslaved and entrapped.
Yeah, and Cordileone also performed his exorcism in Latin, saying that the reason for that was because Latin tends to be more effective against the devil, because he doesn't like the language of the church. So there's that.
Yes.
And then Dan,
good game.
There, the article mentions the existence of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the fact that they have a Q&A on their website about exorcisms. And so I went to this, Dan, and I actually, like, I was just kind of scrolling through it, and it turned out that it was this extensive, long page. There are so many questions with answers about exorcisms that I printed the whole thing out. It's 12 printed pages, and I ran through it this afternoon, and I just wanted to, like, bring up some of the things, because, like, I don't know, like, I think, you know, there's the movie The Exorcist, right? And you see these, like, exorcisms happen, and you go, well, this is really fringe, right? This is fringe activity. This is not at the heart of Catholicism. Catholics don't believe that strongly in this absolutely crazy idea, right? Turns out, no, they really fucking do, and they have a Q&A page about exorcism. And the first question I want to go through is, why does the church need exorcisms? And they, according to these bishops, there are instances when a person needs to be protected against the power of the devil or to be withdrawn from his spiritual dominion. At such times, the church asks publicly and authoritatively in the name of Jesus Christ for this protection or liberation through use of exorcism. And it goes through and it starts talking about different kinds of exorcism, and actually there's sort of major and minor forms of exorcism. And then they say that minor exorcism is actually performed in preparation for baptism. Like, nobody even, like, thinks about it, right? Like, it's part of the ceremony is that they
really?
Yes, and it's not, so minor exorcism is not about casting out a demon. It's about sort of blessing the person to be sort of protected from and to rid evil from their life. Right?
You just got to flush the pipes.
Yeah, you just got to clear it out. You're probably not possessed. We don't need the major exorcism, which is actually the casting out of the devil, right? And so another question: when and how is an afflicted member of the faithful referred to an exorcist? It says, it is advisable that every diocese establish a protocol to respond to inquiries made by the faithful who claim to be demonically afflicted. As part of the protocol, an assessment should occur to determine the true state of the person. Only after a thorough examination, including medical, psychological, and psychiatric testing, might the person be referred to the exorcist for a final determination regarding demonic possession. Yes.
Wow.
Please leave this to the experts, essentially. Yeah. Right?
This has got to be... Look, if you're just self-diagnosing, if you're just going to WebMD for demons, right. WebM demons... you don't know if you really have a demon. You got to get a pro in there to tell you if there's a real demon in you or if you're just, making it up.
Right. It talks about major exorcism. It says the rite of major exorcism is employed only when there is a case of genuine demonic possession, namely when it is determined that the presence of the devil is in the body of the possessed and the devil is able to exercise dominion over the body. And then there's just some really practical questions, like, how does a priest become an exorcist? A priest may be appointed to the office of exorcist either on a stable basis or for a particular occasion by the diocesan bishop. In either case, the exorcist should work closely with and under the direction of the bishop. How are exorcists trained and prepared for this ministry? Classically, the exorcist has trained for this specialized ministry through an apprenticeship model.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Working under the direction of an experienced exorcist.
I'm a classically trained exorcist. I don't know what your training is. Mine is I'm classically trained.
It's absolutely absurd. And if you'll indulge me just slightly more, what ritual symbols are used in exorcisms, and what do they symbolize? Oh my God. I'm going to read it. Okay.
If it says a cross, I'm going to be so mad.
It says, in addition to the use of the Psalms and gospel readings and the recitation of the exorcist prayers, right? A series of sacred symbols is utilized in the rite of major exorcism. To begin, water is blessed and sprinkled, recalling the centrality of the new life the afflicted person received in baptism, and the ultimate defeat of the devil through the salvific work of Jesus Christ.
Oh, salvific. They got words.
The imposition of hands, as well as the breathing on the person's face by the exorcist.
Ew.
I know. Which is called exsufflation.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Reaffirms the power of the Holy Spirit at work in the person as a result of his or her baptism, confirming him or her as a temple of God. Finally, the Lord's cross is shown to the afflicted person, and the sign of the cross is made over him or her, demonstrating the power of Christ over the devil. So basically, yes, The Exorcist, right? Like splashing some water
Max
around.
von Sydow is called.
And then it just goes on and on and on. Like, this is no small issue, right? Like, okay, it's not happening all the time. It's not like it's a ritual that every Catholic has seen performed.
It's not happening all the time here.
Right.
It's happening all the time in other parts of the world.
I guess that's true. And then one last question. I love this. Should other members of the faithful be present when an exorcism is performed? And it says, this text strongly recommends against the exorcist working in isolation. Even though in rare instances this may be unavoidable, the practice of performing an exorcism in solitude should be discouraged at all costs.
Yeah, because anytime a priest is alone in a room with a person, there's a problem.
There's other dangers.
It could go badly.
Priests cannot be unsupervised. That should be a rule.
Oh my God. All right. Well, somebody should exorcise the demons out of this show, but I don't know who to call. All right. I'm gonna close this out with an opportunity. I'm gonna call it an opportunity for Schadenfreude.
Oh.
Now, if you folks out there are not pros as we are at taking delight in the misery and sadness of others, I really can't recommend it enough. Do it ethically, do it kindly, but I'm going to tell us the story of Irvin Baxter.
Okay.
Who he's been a minister for a long damn time, and very much a sort of end times preacher, and he gave us a really good explanation on the Jim Baker show about why COVID was here. And basically his explanation is that God was real mad that people be fucking. He went into some stats. He dug into some stats and discovered that 7.5 million couples, that means 15 million people, are living together unmarried in these United States.
Oh, no.
Just here. And he learned, and he really hoped that this was not true, that only 5% of new brides in America are virgins.
Oh. So
sad.
Oh, that is sad.
He obviously didn't care about husbands because boys don't count. So fornication was his big reason why God had unleashed this virus on our land. Apparently not noticing that the rest of the world also got the virus. Anyway, recently it was announced that he was infected with this virus.
Oh.
And unfortunately, being a 75-year-old fat guy, he has succumbed to the disease.
Oh.
So, I guess, unless God's aim is really off,
which it always is.
Homeboy was fornicating, right? Isn't that the conclusion? Because here's the thing. God desperately needs to work on his messaging. I mean, if you're mad about sex, send an STD or something. Don't send a disease that's going to kill your grandma.
Yeah.
You send a disease that's killing the young folks who are out there fucking.
God works in mysterious ways, Dan.
Yes. And unfortunately, we have one fewer pastors to tell us all about it.
God, I thought you were going to bring up Rick Joyner.
What about Rick Joyner?
Well, he said that all you have to do is pray and you won't get COVID, and then he got COVID.
I didn't know Rick Joyner got COVID.
Yeah, when you sort of. Because listeners don't know this, we don't really tell each other too much about what we're going to be talking about, right?
No.
And so when you just gave me the little quick line to kind of like tease it for me to make sure I didn't have the same story or something similar, I thought you were going to be bringing up Rick Joyner.
Oh, I'm so happy that Rick Joyner has it. Oh,
we've played his audio quite a bit on the show. If you don't recognize the name,
yeah. But he's a real treat.
Yeah, he's yeah.
So suddenly I'm feeling much better about the spikes in COVID activity. So you guys, all of you listeners at home,
don't be part of
keep
this.
yourselves safe.
Yeah.
It is getting so bad, especially here in the United States.
No kidding.
So wear your masks. Don't go out if you don't have to.
I know.
Keep yourself safe so that the only people we're reporting on are these Christian assholes.
Yeah, the ding-dongs who just refuse.
Yeah,
I know.
If you'd like to talk to us, if you want to chide me for taking pleasure in the death of other people, you can do that. You can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, guys. There is more show coming right up.
Yeehaw! Hey, Frank.
Dan.
After that last segment, I looked up Rick Joyner's Facebook account and read his pinned post about how grateful he is for everybody's prayers that he had COVID, because I'm just literally so happy that he has COVID. And I just want everyone to have an update. It's really hurting him.
Is it?
He feels awful, and I couldn't be happier. I am a terrible person.
Wow,
I know. But yeah, he... Apparently, a few days ago, walking across the room was like climbing Mount Everest, he said.
Oh, my God. And he's an older guy.
So there you go. I guess Trump wasn't sharing his miracle drugs with him.
Miracle drug hoarder. Yeah, Trump, he got the best of it, didn't he?
Yeah. Experimental drugs that aren't approved for anybody else to use.
That are really, apparently, quite promising. And
some powerful what do you call them, steroids that apparently make you feel like you're invincible.
Yeah, he probably took some serious risks in that treatment, right?
Yeah.
But
unfortunately they didn't pan out in the way we would have hoped.
Oh, golly. Well, Dan, we need to listen to some audio here, right? We have some little break or audio break that we need to sound clippies.
Yeah.
So
we look, Frank, one of Trump's most trusted spiritual advisors, at least if you ask her, is Paula White. And she has been really trying to battle the demons of the country to make sure that Trump remains in power.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play this clip. There were a couple clips we had to choose between. And what I want you to imagine as you listen to her in her insanity as she talks is, and because this is true, there's just a dude walking behind her every now and then, holding a book He's just in t-shirt and jeans.
No,
and
not even jeans, Dan. He's like in shorts. Like it's seriously.
Oh, he's in shorts.
It's like he was like playing
shorts.
video games all morning and then decided to get up and walk around. Like
it's like he's her. It's like she's his mom and she's doing her Zoom call into work, and he's not even paying attention, and he's just going back and forth to the kitchen to get more Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah,
except
that she's
amazing
at the podium of a church, right?
Yeah. She is at the podium of a very big church, and he is just wandering occasionally back and forth behind her. Anyway, we'll play the audio, but we just need you to picture that while this is happening.
We break and divide every demonic confederacy against the election, against America, against that who you have declared to be in the White House. We break it up in the name of Jesus. We loose confusion into every demonic confederacy directed right now at this election, directed specifically at the 6 states. We come against people that are working at high levels right now with demonic confederacies and secrecies and demonic plans and networks. We break it up and we command that it be exposed right now in the name of Jesus.
Oh my God!
The guy walking back and forth, I can't get over it. We'll tweet out this this video and it'll be in the show notes, I think. But honestly, it's worth it. You guys got to go check it out. What she's doing is crazy enough and plenty for us to play on this show. But who cares? Because Doofus is walking around behind her. It's amazing. I'm so happy about it. All right. Well, we had some folks write into us. I will commence to reading them.
Excellent.
They're missives now. This is from Kathleen. Hi, Frank and Dan. Regarding your recent comments about atheists in leadership roles, I just wanted to mention Ernie Chambers, who is an openly atheist member of the Nebraska state legislature. Nebraska is one of only 2 states that has split electoral votes. Oh, we know, Kathleen. We are intimately aware of Nebraska's electoral votes.
And very thankful.
Yeah. As I write this, she continues, we are still awaiting the final electoral tally. One of Nebraska's electoral votes has gone to Joe Biden. Yep. Nebraska Republicans attempted to do away with the state's split electoral vote system a few years back, but Ernie Chambers was instrumental in keeping it. Chambers is an eccentric and fascinating character. Years ago, he even filed a lawsuit against God.
Nice.
If you ever have space on your show, I think Chambers is worth a mention. Well, there you go. We mentioned it. So, thanks, Kathleen, for writing in. That's kind of amazing. Taylor wrote into us, hello, darling Frank and dear Dan.
Aww.
I was listening to your spooky Halloween episode this morning and was struck by Frank's first story about witches on the rise in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
I am 25 and a woman living in Salt Lake City, and I've noticed quite a few women in my age group turning over to Wicca, or at least being, quote, witchy bitchy, real quote. My bestie grew up Jewish, but gave it up a year or 2 ago. We never explicitly talked about our beliefs, but she did mention dropping the whole kosher thing and nixing the extra holidays with her folks. I honestly thought she was an atheist until I realized until recently when she bought a tarot deck. She has done a few readings for me, and I find it fun in the same way that I find horoscopes and fortunes from Shinto shrines fun. You know, without thinking too hard about it, and maybe with a little blasphemy in my heart. But today she told me she has performed a spell to protect me during a minor surgery I'm having tomorrow, and that she thinks protection from the gods can't hurt anything. She also told me how her friend thinks one of the Wiccan gods brought her spouse to her through divine intervention thanks to a spell she had cast as well. My friend refers to herself and her sister as witchy sisters, but I always thought she was just messing around. Sounds like witches be cray in Utah.
Yeah.
And I just traded my passively Jewish friend for a preachy Wicca one. It honestly feels like having a Mormon friend, except the thoughts and prayers. Except instead of thoughts and prayers, it's spells and smudging. Love you guys, Taylor. Oh, smudging. No.
Oh, golly. There are worse things in the world than smudging.
I cannot stand the smell of burnt sage.
Oh, that's right.
I just hate it.
I forgot that you hate that smell. I don't mind the smell at all. I think it's ridiculous. But yeah. That's funny.
That'll happen. Yeah. Did I tell you about the conversation I had? I went into there's a store, a witchy store here in Salt Lake City called, I think it's called Crone's Hollow or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know where that's at. Yeah.
And I went in there just to check it out a little while ago, and overheard the store, I assume the owner, talking to a patron about how about smudging.
Oh, yeah.
And about how people just don't understand that, like, that is just the nuclear option. You don't want to smudge. It just clears everything out. Good spirits and bad. You don't want to just smudge everything because I just thought it was a fun little combo.
That's great.
All right, this is from Lindsay. Lindsay writes, "Hey guys, I wanted to let y'all know that here in Alabama, us gay atheists have taken trunk or treat. Though we didn't do it this year because of COVID, we use it as an opportunity to allow kids to dress as they want without judgment. We may be sheltering them from the rest of the hatred here. It's okay to allow them to be kids a little bit longer." Okay, I'm with you, Lindsay. I like the idea of like a gay trunk or treat where you like the kids can be whatever they want to be without other parents like getting judgy about it and making them feel bad.
Cute. Did we say something about trunk or treat? Like,
I don't know. I did. I hate trunk or treat. I think it's evil.
What?
I think it ruins the whole holiday.
Aww.
So probably I did say something about it.
But with a purpose like that, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I'm going to give that one a total pass,
right?
Because kids need to be able to like not fret if they want to gender bend a little bit or if they want to just have some fun with the holiday without people being dicks. So, all right, I'm going to give it a pass. Well, do we have anybody to thank?
We do, Dan. We have a new patron on Patreon who is coming in at the teacher level, Dan.
Wonderful.
Paul.
Oh, Paul.
Welcome.
Blessed be
Thank you, Paul.
Well done.
You now have the Aaronic priesthood.
Yeah. How ironic.
How lucky are you? And what Paul did that everybody could do if they wanted to, he went on over to thankgodimatheist.com, clicked on the support tab, and followed all over to Patreon and our campaign. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much,
It's
Paul.
easy to do. It's so simple. If you like the show, why not?
Yeah.
You've got all that extra cash lying around. Just give some of it to us. It doesn't hurt. I mean, unless it does, in which case, don't worry. This show's free.
Yeah.
You're cool.
And then, as always, we have our top donor, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Well, Frank.
Yes, Dan.
I know that we haven't been mentioning it the whole episode, but there has been there's an election, and we still don't know the results.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we are a couple days prior, or we're recording a couple days before the listeners
know
will
the
hear
answers.
Show. Yeah. Hopefully they know answers.
But another person who doesn't currently know the answers but has a lot of other answers is one Mr. Andrew Seidel from the FFRF, one of our favorite organizations, the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. You are a constitutional lawyer. Mm-hmm. You are an author. Mm-hmm. You're a man of the world, and we needed to have you on here. We want to talk to you about a whole lot of different things. Okay. First off, you're in Wisconsin. You guys pulled it out. You managed in a squeaker. You managed to turn the state blue. Well done there.
Yeah, the beating heart of democracy up here in Wisconsin. It was it's been interesting. I drove up kind of north in the state out into the country to go camping a couple weekends ago, right after the Amy Coney Barrett fiasco finished, and get like a little bit of a break. And I was blown away by how many Trump signs there were out there. So I knew it was going to be closer than the double-digit polls were suggesting, because anecdotal evidence obviously is more important than data.
These days polls don't mean anything more than
I meant
anecdotes.
that as a joke, but it turns out it's true. Yeah.
Good Lord. Let's talk a little bit first of all about you mentioned the Amy Coney Barrett thing. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court is now peopled with a whole lot of Catholics.
Yes.
One with a very special, that added special sauce of her own little cult that she's a part of. What are your thoughts? Are things? Everybody seems to be doomsaying we're all going to go backwards. Everybody's rights are going to be taken away. Where are you at?
I mean, that's accurate.
Oh God!
This is not a fair court. This is not an impartial court. This is a Catholic court. This is a Republican court. 3 of the justices on this court were on the team that litigated Bush versus Gore. Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Roberts. Alito is more conservative than all of them. Thomas is also more conservative than all of them, and more conservative than Alito. And his wife is a crazy conservative who posts Soros memes on her Facebook. Gorsuch sits in a seat that was stolen for political reasons. So, I mean, this court doesn't have a legitimacy problem. This court is illegitimate. It's a wing of the Republican Party, and it's making decisions like it. Kavanaugh, sit with this. Just Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh is the median justice in terms of ideology on the Supreme Court right now.
Jesus Christ!
Wow. I thought Halloween was over, but now you're spooking me. That's a scary thought right there.
Yeah, I mean, and the lower courts are as bad. I mean, this is something that really everybody needs to understand. Our courts are broken. They're fucked, and we have to unfuck the courts.
Yeah, how does that work? How is there a path to doing that?
Well, it's a much narrower, much more difficult path after this election. I mean, really, you need a president and Senate to be able to agree to do that, and I don't think with the outcome of this election that we're going to see that. It looks like it might hinge on 2 Georgia special elections, which, as we are talking, looks like there are going to be 2 special elections there. And so you could get a 50-50 tie with Kamala Harris then breaking the tie, which would give you the opportunity to do that. You have to be bold about going and really striking out for serious judicial reform.
Is the answer just putting 20 or 30 more people on the Supreme Court? Is that
I mean,
how we do it?
You joke about that. I think that is the way to. I think the entire federal judiciary should double in size, and that honestly that need to happen before this. There's been a reluctance to expand the courts because for political reasons, and now McConnell and Trump have packed the courts. I mean, cases now take 3 or 4, sometimes 5 years to get to the end, and that's wrong. I mean, justice delayed is justice denied, and true. So I mean, I think we needed to do something like that anyway, and there are a lot of proposals out there for fixing the courts. Some of them say 2 justices, some of them say 4 justices. I think there needs to be, and I hesitate to use the word punitive to describe what needs to happen, but right now McConnell stopped everything to help pack the courts. I mean, he stopped everything in the last 2 years of Obama's administration, held everything open, and then packed it with Trump. And I mean, they didn't pass COVID relief. So they didn't pass the second COVID relief package because they were too busy spending their political capital jamming Amy Coney Barrett on the court. And so there needs to be future generations of lawmakers and legislators need to understand that doesn't pay, that you don't get to do that and risk the American public and our health and our safety and have the result come out the way you want. So I think
in fairness, though, I will say this: in fairness to McConnell, if you dramatically shrink the population, then it won't take as much time to get through the court system.
This is true. I don't know if that's where his head's at, but you're absolutely you can't argue with that logic. I mean, so to me, I mean that's just one small reason to do that. Another reason is since 2006. I mean, every court case on anything that people might call like a culture war type issue has been directed at one justice. So it was Anthony Kennedy first, and then Justice John Roberts lately until Barrett was put on the court. And I mean, that's wrong, right? Like, it shouldn't be that you know how those are going to come out. So, I mean, I'm all for having a court with 21 people on it. Who cares? There's no reason to have it limited to a small number of people. And if you want to say, well, then you're just opening this up for like a tit for tat, and then when the Republicans gain power, they're going to do it. Fine. Let them add another 15 to the court, and everybody's power is diluted even more. Who cares? What does it matter? There's no special significance in having 9 or 11 or 13 members on the court. Let's put as many on there as we can.
Let me pitch this. I don't think I've ever heard anybody pitching this idea. How about this? 2 people on the court. You shrink it. It's just Sotomayor and Kagan, and that's it.
I mean, I'm all for that. Sotomayor is fantastic. So the problem with that, and the problem with the term limit solutions, is in the Constitution itself. So Article 1 of the Constitution is Congress, and that's most of the document. 52% of the words in the document are Congress. Article 2 is the executive, the presidency. About 23% of the words in the document are dealing with that. So that's 3/4 of the document right there are those two. The judiciary is Article 3, and only about 8% of the words in the entire document deal with what the federal judiciary is and should look like. And one of the phrases in there that is that judges sit for during good behavior. And that's where we've interpreted the lifetime appointment to be. They're on the court for life unless they do something wrong or they decide they want to retire. So if you're talking about like term limits, you run into the language of the Constitution itself. And if you talk about removing justices from the court, you run into the language of the Constitution itself, which says that they get to stay there during good behavior. You have a better argument for shrinking the court than you do for something like term limits. So the reason I don't think term limits are a solution is because then you get into the court itself deciding whether or not a term limit is constitutional. And they're not going to say, yes, it's constitutional. We all of a sudden now don't have jobs. And like lifetime appointments are actually a good idea.
Are they?
They are.
I don't think I've heard people making that claim before. Hit me with that.
They're a good idea because it guarantees the independence of the judiciary, and it insulates them in a way that you wouldn't otherwise see. I mean, imagine if you knew you were going to sit on the court for 10 years, and there's a decision like Bush versus Gore or Trump versus Biden that's going to come up before you. You might be relying on getting a job when you leave on the outcome of that opinion. And this is why it was structured that way when in the founding document. It's meant to be a check and a balance. It's meant to be a measure of judicial independence. The problem isn't that it's lifetime appointments. It's that we're putting people on the court who are babies in terms of their judicial experience, who are 42, 44, 48 years old, and then they're on the court for 40 years because we're also living so much longer.
Right. Yeah, that's true. When that little document was written, nobody was anticipating nonagenarians on the court.
Well, and they were people who were getting on the court were just significantly older. It was for the most part, it was the end of their legal career, and it wasn't something that people wanted to do. The first few chief justices were only on the court for like a couple of years. Nobody wanted this job. It wasn't. The court didn't have really until our third Chief Justice, John Marshall, sort of asserted the power of the court in Marbury versus Madison. This wasn't a role that people thought was valuable or contributed that much to the running of the government. Different times.
I mean, it's like you've studied this Constitution thing a little bit, is what it sounds.
A little
like.
bit, yeah, just a touch.
I speaking of that, I want to talk about your book. We wanted to have you on when it very first came out. It didn't work out because you, I don't know, got super fucking busy. But tell us about your book. It's been you've at least made waves among the conservative Christian community. You've been burned.
Yes, I've literally been burned, made flames, I think might be a better way to say it.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so what was his name? I can never remember his name.
Greg Locke, is that the one?
Yes, Greg Locke, who's this crazy conservative Trumpian preacher out of Tennessee. He and I got into it a little bit on Twitter about the Freedom from Religion Foundation's Ronald Reagan ad that runs on TV.
Oh, right.
And I don't remember how it exactly had happened, but I ended up saying, like, well, I'll send you a copy of my book. And I wrote him a little inscription in the front of it. It was meant to be cheeky, but it was also meant to be sincere. And I sent him a copy, and he posted a video. He got out a blowtorch and posted a video of him self-lighting it on fire.
I love it.
And he obviously didn't read the book. He did read the description on camera, which, that was something.
Well, okay, so I don't want to hear Greg Locke describe your book, but why don't you describe your book? This is the founding myth, why Christian nationalism is un-American.
Exactly. And I mean, the question that I'm asking really is, do we have a government of the people, for the people, and by the people? Or is ours a government of the Christians, for the Christians, and by the Christians? Because that's...
And by Jesus.
By Jesus. I mean, this is the battle that we are in right now. America is in a desperate fight against Christian nationalism, and it's this political theology that is it's an existential threat to our republic. So that's why I wrote the founding myth, and I really wanted to do something different with the book. I wanted to go someplace new. Because Christian nationalism, the idea, right, that we're founded as a Christian nation, that we're built on Judeo-Christian principles, that's not a scholarly debate, and that's the way it's been treated.
That's true. I have seen that come up in zones that it definitely doesn't belong. I've seen that claim be made in academia where it shouldn't be taken seriously.
No, and I mean, it really is. It's not just the idea that we've strayed from our foundations and we have to get back to our godly roots. It's a sinister exclusionary movement. And the goal is to redefine America according to the Christian nationalist identity and then to reshape our law accordingly. And Christian nationalism is the reason that Donald Trump is president. I mean, the best predictor of a Trump voter in 2016 was thinking that the United States was founded as a Christian nation. Some of the early numbers that I've been seeing from this week suggest that Christian nationalism played just as much of a role in this election as it did in previous ones. So what I wanted to do in the book was really assault and destroy this identity, because it's built on these common lies and myths that we and you and everybody listening to this has heard time after time after time, that we're one nation under God. In God we trust. The Declaration of Independence, it references the Christian God 4 times. That the founders were all evangelical Christians. That they prayed at the Constitutional Convention. That George Washington knelt in the snow at Valley Forge and prayed, and that all of our laws are based on the 10 Commandments. Right? All of those are wrong. But
what?
I know, it's crazy.
How dare you?
I know. But without that commonwealth of lies and myths, their identity begins to wither and fade. And so that was really what I wanted to do in the book. I didn't want to simply, I didn't want to just another refutation of the idea that we're founded as a Christian nation. I wanted to go deeper. I want to do something more.
Well, okay, so you want to go deeper. I get it. But let's be honest. When has Christian nationalism ever gone wrong?
Yeah. I mean, good question. Let's just stick with the Trump administration. I mean, you got the Muslim ban.
Oh, okay.
That's Christian nationalism writ large. The child separation policy at the border, ripping kids out of the loving arms of their parents and throwing them in cages. Jeff Sessions justified that by citing the Bible, by citing Romans 13.
That's true. He did. I forgot that. That's crazy.
He did. He learned that in the White House Bible study. Incidentally, Romans 13 was the same Bible verse that was super popular with preachers in Britain at the time that America was declaring its independence, to say that we couldn't declare that independence.
The Bible.
Let's see what else. Opposition to LGBTQ equality, opposition to reproductive rights. All those kind of things are you can really trace back to Christian nationalism. It has roots and tendrils and fingers in so many different just evil Republican pies. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like nobody noticed that Hitler's belt buckles said "Gott mit uns." You know what I mean? God is with us. It's like nobody paid attention to the last time someone went full Christian nationalist.
Yeah.
And like hate stoking the way it doesn't go great when people do that.
No, it doesn't. And this is so I mean that kind of gets to the heart of the book, right? Like, so I guess the central question I asked really is, did Judeo-Christian principles positively influence the founding of the United States? And the answer is no, they didn't. We weren't founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and it's actually a good thing, because those principles, and especially ones that are central to Christian nationalism, they're thoroughly opposed to the principles on which the United States was built. So,
right.
I mean, so that's the heart of the argument. I argue that the two systems, that the founding American values and the values of Christianity and Judeo-Christianity, they differ and conflict to such a degree that, to put it bluntly, Christianity is un-American. So that's the argument that I make. It's a new argument. It's not one that people have heard. America will never be a Christian nation, because the moment it becomes a Christian nation, it will cease to be America.
Yeah, I mean, it seems okay from our perspective. That seems obvious. It seems like the whole point of America was a government that is secular, so that everyone can practice whatever religion they want or need to practice. I mean, that seems pretty obvious from, I don't know, the language of the founding documents, the writings of the people who crafted them, all of that sort of thing. How are people justifying this I mean, obviously David Barton is one of our country's great historians, but it does seem like I don't get how they're justifying their position.
Well,
are they just lying?
Yeah, I mean, a big chunk of it is bad history, and also a big chunk of it is that our side has never done a good job of pushing back on it. So, like previous books written about whether or not we're a Christian nation, they've offered this gentle correction to the Christian nationalists. Guys, this is what history actually tells us. Here's what the founding fathers actually meant, and here's what they actually said. But they've kind of left it at that.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's not enough, right? Like, facts, this is sad to say, are not enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a President Trump, right? So pointing out errors is insufficient. So this book does that, but then I also went on the offensive. This book is an assault on the Christian nationalist identity. Not only are the Christian nationalists wrong, their beliefs and identity run counter to the ideals on which this nation was founded. They are fundamentally un-American.
Well, if there's any time in history that we could see that, it's looking at a bunch of people today, as in the day that we're recording this, marching around with signs that say or chanting "Stop the vote."
Yeah, it's unreal.
Like,
and count the vote, right? Like, it depends on where.
Depending on where you are. Like, how can you think that you're being a good American if your whole goal is, if this doesn't go my way, silence the rest of the Americans?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no way to square that. It is a naked power grab.
Oh, well, I feel better. about my country.
I mean, look, there are reasons. You know, you touched on this just a minute ago. Like, a lot of what is in the Constitution, there's a lot of bad stuff in the Constitution. The Electoral College, for one, which we're seeing the results of right now. Like, there's a 4 million vote gap between the front runner and the second place finisher in the presidential election, and we're all still wondering, gee, is the guy with 4 million more votes going to win or not? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, and that's a relic of slavery. I mean, there's this devil's bargain that was made in the Constitution with slavery, but there's a few things in there that are really impressive, and they tend to be the things that are our secular heritage, right? So Christian nationalists have persuaded too many Americans to abandon our heritage, to spurn those secular foundations in favor of their myth. But America invented the separation of state and church. That is an American original. So, I mean, the idea was born in the Enlightenment, but it was first implemented in the American experiment.
I hate to call you on this, but the phrase separation of church and state never appears in the Constitution. You're wrong. Checkmate.
Yeah,
I win.
Yeah, I know. That's not something I've ever heard before, though. But I mean,
oh my gosh.
I mean, and to take another example too, right? Like, we the people. That was a first. Those words are poetic, but they mean so much more. This was the first time in human history where the power to govern was situated in people from the bottom up, not from the top down, not from a deity saying this person is the chosen one who's going to govern all of you. Instead, we get to choose who's going to govern us. I mean, and those two things those are that's our secular heritage, and they stem from the secularism imbued in that document. The same thing with the religious test clause that's in Article 6, banning religious tests for public office. That was a first. And these are the things that were the true American contribution to humanity and political science, and all of them are about the secular character of our government. First Constitution, not to mention a God at all.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Andrew Seidel, thank you so much for coming on the show. People can just get your book sort of wherever you get books. Am I right?
Yeah, wherever you get books. Bookshop.org is a great place if you want to support your local independent bookstores. If people want a signed copy, since I'm not able to be out on tour, if you order it through ffrf.org, through the FFRF website, you can just leave a little note in the checkout and say you want a signed copy, and I'll sign it, and it'll get sent to you.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. Yeah, definitely go out and check. This thing is legit, folks. I mean, we're talking 4.5 stars on Goodreads. This is a good book. This isn't one of those crappy books that we're always pitching to people. So get out there and buy this book. Support your local constitutional lawyer. And thanks so much for coming on, Andrew. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure, gents. Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to write into us, please feel free to do so. Our email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
And go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also, find us on Twitter at TGIAtheist. And if you like what you hear here on the show, please think about supporting us. You can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the support tab.
Yeah, that'd be a nice thing to do. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And a big thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in.
Bye-bye.